The well-equipped Danish men-at-arms and professional German mercenaries of Valdemar's army probably took anything of value left over after the battle, especially items that were easily removed, like helmets, of which none has ever been found at Visby.
So weapons and helmets they are taken care of. And they are quite easy to take off, and you can also reuse the material, the iron itself. It's good even if the helmet is old or damaged. I think it was old and it was messy, sitting to those skulls that were smashed into pieces.
But what of the remains of the Gotlanders themselves? What evidence still lies in their bones? Malin Holst is an osteoarchaeologist, a specialist in skeletal remains. She's come to Stockholm to see for herself a selection of some of the bones from Visby. She wants to find out more about the collection, how the bones were classified and conserved.
I don't normally approach the medieval period as a touchy-feely romantic thing. I just try to be scientific about it and try to see what's there and take what's there as fact and then interpret from there. When I do analyze medieval skeletons, I do see their daily lives from their bones and also from the context they were found in. And in the medieval period, you don't normally have grave goods, but you might see markers on their bones that suggest certain activities or fractures of certain bones or particular wear on the teeth that give a clue about their daily lives.
Malin's osteological work has involved in-depth study of the only other mass grave from a medieval battlefield, at Towton, with around 100 skeletons. Here in the stores at Stockholm's Historical Museum, there are more than 10 times the number of skeletons recovered from Towton.
We visually analyze the skeleton, so we determine the age, the sex, the living height, and any diseases the person suffered from or any injuries they suffered from. It's usually not possible to tell the cause of death. Osteoarchaeology works very much together with archaeology, and it's very, very important for us to work together and communicate with each other, because if I just study a skeleton, it only tells me a limited amount of information. But if I then put it into the archaeological context and see what the grave was like, what the site was like, what the general areas like that the individual came from, then I understand much, much more about the individual.
The excavations were very meticulous for the time to take care of all the skeletons, because they had a great interest in the military history, and all the cuts on the bones were very interesting to them.
Right.
But we have another interest in the bones because we want to learn more about the people.
Yeah.
Osteology was a relatively new science. Peter Ackerson has studied the skeletons for much of his professional life, probably more than anyone else. He's looked at the ways in which techniques of analysis in the 1930s differed from current 21st century osteology. Due to the sheer amount of material, little work has been done on them since they were excavated, the best part of a century ago. Since then, methods and attitudes, not to mention technology, have changed.
Well, this is also an example of how the skeletons have become mixed.
Yeah.
So this is a box with crania and tibia and one femur.
The bones were not kept together in their individual skeletons. Archaeological methods were different in Tordeman's time. The site was gridded and excavated strictly square by square.
If there were bones from one skeleton, they marked them so they could see each skeleton.
Today, the accepted method is to excavate each individual skeleton completely, one at a time, keeping all the bones together in context. What isn't of use to contemporary means of analysis might still be useful in the future if the whole skeleton is stored together.
In some cases you have all the thigh bones in boxes in one box and the other bones in other boxes. So our work was a bit tedious trying to figure out which pieces belong to which skeleton.
The sheer number of skeletons makes it very time-consuming to conserve them. Petter and other osteologists have spent many hours placing back together the Visby skeletons. Some haven't been looked at since they were packed away for storage. Yet it gives a unique cross-section of the types of wounds sustained in a medieval battle. Almost every skeleton has some evidence of trauma. Tordemann's analysis was the first step towards revealing more about the individuals in the mass graves. His work paved the way for modern osteology. The evidence is in the bones.
To be able to give them something back, hopefully, we'll probably never be able to give them their name back, but what you could say is, right, this person was of a certain height, of a certain stature, of a certain robusticity, and they looked like they did some honest, hard grafting, and they suffered in life like they had a broken limb or a broken finger, and you can see all this on the skeletal remains.
All these skeletons that now remain of these people, they need to tell their story, and I try to be their voice.